Hi Gypsy, it's Tony. Taking a look at your photos here. I see the first few here are the ones from the exposure compensation, which works out really well. Pick the fountain, that's a nice subject to work with here, and very clearly illustrates as when you go from the darker exposures to the lighter ones, just how much more shadow detail there is, and then also in the darker ones where you have more detail up in the sky. Um, and so in the future, this might come in handy for you when you're shooting with your camera and you get a shot and you think it looks too light, too dark. Using that exposure compensation can be a big help. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to take those images this week and process them in HDR so you can kind of see that whole process and see what they look like here. Okay, we're going down to your other pictures here. Okay, yeah, this shot of the tree with the reflections in the pond, very nice. I like how you framed used the tree to frame your subject here, your image. Very nice way of doing that. Nice balance, and the reflections with the pond being so still really adds a great graphic impact. So that looks really quite nice. And the light coming over from the left side really adds to the look of the picture too, of being nicely very directional. This next one, as I look at this one, to me this looks like this could be like a great black and white image. It also looks like it could be maybe a good HDR image because you have such extremes in terms of contrast. You got they're really bright where the sun is highlighting the sides of the tree here and the branches, and then the bed of needles that on the lower floor here. But as it is right here, would probably make just a nice black and white image all by itself. Um, And in terms of exposure, these are the kinds of tough things that you have to decide on. I think you decided correctly to be able to show all the detail of the texture of the tree and also the bed of needles here. Okay, going down to the next one. And I know that you have that Sony camera, so I can see where there's a little bit of noise here when you're in the woods, but that's fine. And in terms of compositionally, really like how you use the little stream to kind of wind back towards into the woods there. They're very nice. That works out very well. You probably could have cropped off just a little on the bottom part right here. You probably could have just shaved it so that it's more like this instead of including a little bit more like, with this here. You probably could have just cropped that off a little bit right there. Okay, go down to the next one. And kind of another version of the vertical shot where you had the tree framing the pond with the reflections, and this is also really very nice. Works very well as a horizontal shot, and your exposure looks great on that. Very nice, like this one very much. And the exposure, the reflection equalizes. It's kind of nice that it almost splits it in half, but that it's really mirrors most of the image. And going down, okay, the next one maybe a little bit tighter, more telephoto kind of shot than maybe this one being a little bit wider. And also works very nice. The greens of the water, greens of the trees, works very well, and maybe could have just, in terms of being picky, maybe just cropped off a little bit of the sky here. Well, let's see. That's kind of a tough one to try and figure out, but I like the way that you cropped it. That works out just fine. Okay, I love this shot in the sense that it looks like you got down low, to the level of the flowers and looking up into underneath that gazebo there. The composition of this is very nice. Really like this one very much. With the flowers in the lower left, and then the tree sprouting up from the flowers. Has a real nice feel to it in terms of composition. Great job on this one. Okay, yeah, the next one, not as strong as the one previous. And on that Sony, I don't know in terms of like setting the depth of field, but I can see a little bit, the first part of the flowers. Come on, back here. The flowers in the foreground being a little softer, everything else being a little bit sharper. Also looks just a little on the overexposed side. Just a little overexposed. The thing that I find intriguing are those little bed of flowers in the bottom right-hand corner. Looks like there could be a picture there, maybe more of a macro kind of shot or something, but with sort of that little, there's some shadow behind the foreground part of the flowers. Somehow that looks kind of intriguing. That's what I would like want to take a look at that, in terms of getting in there closer. Okay, and the next shot, also more reflections. Very nice. Love wherever this is. Beautiful place. And you could probably shave off just a little bit on the, crop a little bit off on the bottom down here too. Really like the way that the light is more directional and lighting up the tree, the leaves and the trees, and then how you contrast that with the darker green of this reflecting pool here. Okay, we'll scroll down a little bit more. So I'm guessing this might be Castlewood. I have not been out there, but I have had lots of students that shoot Castlewood, and it looks like a wonderful place to shoot. And I really like how you have used this little boulder in the foreground here with the trees and the river leading off into the distance. And of course, when you're shooting on kind of it looks like it was maybe kind of a gray day, that you get that sort of fading off into the distance here. Possibly a polarizer might have given it a little bit more contrast, but it'd be great if you either did some Photoshop or if you had something with a polarizer or whatever to snap up that background there, just to give it bring it in a little bit more snappy, as you have here with your foreground. This looks like this could also be a nice black and white image, and with a little bit of added contrast, and chop off a little bit of the sky there too. Okay, go down to your last one here, and the horizontal version of that also works really well. And yeah, just in this one, maybe exposure compensation to the minus just a little bit, maybe -1 or something like that, just to give, because those trees a lot of times will fool the exposure on your camera and indicate that it's darker than what it really is. And so so in this case the camera overcompensated, made it a little bit brighter, but in this case exposure compensation to the minus might have snapped it up. But otherwise, compositionally, love how you use that little rock outcropping to frame the base of the picture and then lead your eye up to where the river winds away in the distance. Just a really wonderful looking landscape. So great job, Gypsy.